For most people, rhythm games really started popping off with the release of Parappa the Rapper back in 1996. That was the first console-based rhythm game to have any sort of mainstream success in North America. Konami held pretty much the entire rhythm game market over in Japan with the Beatmania series and whatnot, so I wanted to take a look at what the handheld console rhythm games were like back in the day. We're going to be taking a look at every rhythm game ever released for the Game Boy and Game Boy Color. I'll be beating each game, talking about their features and differences, and giving my thoughts on them here. So let's get right into it with, of course, a Konami rhythm game, Beatmania. If you've never played Beatmania, it's an arcade and console game primarily popular in Japan, though there was one North American release which we'll look at one day on the channel. Check out the North American PS2 controller. This one's seen better days, but god, what a cool thing. Thumbs up for that. But we're not playing this though. Nah, we're gonna be playing Beatmania for the Game Boy. All three of them. There was Beatmania, Gotcha Mix 1, and Gotcha Mix 2, all released for the original Game Boy and the Game Boy Color. This is a shockingly good game, filled with an absurd amount of features for the little underpowered handheld. I'd expect no less from Koji Hori, who also produced Castlevania Circle of the Moon. As far as the basics go, the game gets it all right. There's a combo counter, your scores are graded on timing, and it gets way more difficult than you'd think. If you're not good at rhythm games, there's multiple play modes to choose from to practice and make your life easier too. You got a ton of different button modes as well as 2 different difficulties to pick from for each button mode. Playing the 6-button mode uses left, up, right, B, A, and start. If you choose a different button mode, like say 3-button mode, the notes will all still appear on the chart during the songs, but they'll be blacked out and will automatically be hit. Makes sense that they wouldn't make custom charts for every single one of these on a handheld in the 90s. There's more to this too, like hidden mode. Hidden mode makes the notes disappear before they cross the hit zone. And Gotcha Mix 2 introduces random notes as well, which can be coupled with hidden notes to make this even more difficult. All 3 games use the same engine and visually look almost identical to one another other than a couple little visual changes here and there. That being said, there are some gameplay differences, so let's get into them. Beatmania 1 is the only one of the games to feature categorized genres in the song select. There's 10 songs from the console games and 10 original songs for the Game Boy to choose from here, and they all kinda slap, balancing multiple MIDI tracks all playing at the same time to have you either grooving or popping Tylenol. Moving over to Gotcha Mix 1, it's the exact same thing as the first game, except this one has 20 songs recreated from the console and arcade versions, and 5 original songs, bringing the total up to 25. 25 songs on an original Game Boy cartridge. Yeah, these games can be played on the original Game Boy from 1989, as well as the Game Boy Color. That is, all of them except Gotcha Mix 2. Gotcha Mix 2 is exclusive to the Game Boy Color, and it's the only one of the games that supports multiplayer duet mode. If you plug in the link cable, you can play 2-player duets on 8 of the 25 songs. Super cool stuff. The Beatmania games on Game Boy completely surprised me. I ended up playing through them multiple times just because it was legitimately really fun. Playing in an emulator does result in some obvious audio-video lag that you can't really do anything about, but if you've ever played an uncalibrated Guitar Hero on an LCD, then you're trained to handle this. It's really cool to see how even back in the black and white gaming past, they had all the rhythm game basics down, from timing to cool charts that play actual audio when buttons are pressed, multiple difficulties, and custom game modes. If I was a child playing this in the backseat of my mom's car, it would keep my mouth shut for hours. Something that most likely wouldn't do that is our next Game Boy rhythm game, Dancing Furby. Gameplay here is extremely generic, but it's got at least one cool trick hiding in its Furby battery pack. It was developed by Tomy in 1999, and it's a really simple game. Notes scroll across the screen to the center hit zone, and you need to push the D-pad arrows, A or B, to hit the notes. The notes do go to the rhythm of the music, something that can't really be taken for granted when compared to much newer plug-and-play rhythm games, and the controls use most of the buttons on the Game Boy, which is nice. The note timings are rated in Furbish, which is the Furby's language. Nulu is perfect, E-Day is great, and Boo is a miss. There's 13 songs to pick from, as well as 13 custom Furby designs that you can use while you play. And the songs are all still pretty bumpin', but not even close to as good as the Beatmania Game Boy tracks. It's lacking songs, but it's got a little more going on to hold your attention here. See, every time you play through the game, you get to select a minigame to play once. There's hide and seek, Furby slots, memory, and a Furbish to Japanese translation game. You can only play one every time you beat the game, and it's actually selected at random, you don't get to pick. I take it back, by the way, this would totally hold my attention in the car as a child, just to see all the games. But what about that trick we mentioned earlier? This is super cool. If you play this on a real Game Boy Color, you can point the Game Boy at a real Furby, and the infrared blaster from the console will communicate with the Furby after beating a song. Basically, if you complete a song on easy, the Furby farts. If you beat a song on hard, it dances. But wait, guess what? There's more. It also includes a free play mode, a song creator, the minigame select mode, and multiplayer. Song creator, well, it lets you choose a background music, and then you can basically place notes. So you can choose the pitch of the note that you want to play, what button it represents, and where in the song it plays. You can save up to 2 custom created songs too, which is pretty sweet. Look, harmonics. The Furby Game Boy game included a custom song creator. Surely Amplitude on PS4 could have had this as well. I'm still mad. There's multiplayer here too, allowing you to play co-op with a Game Boy link cable and even trade custom songs, just like Amplitude on PS2. Sorry, harmonics. Alright, next Game Boy game. You've definitely heard of this one. This is Dance Dance Revolution, GB. Despite being the most well-known series here, this is definitely the most simplistic of all the games that we've looked at so far. As usual, the notes are rated based on timing. You've got a plethora of timing ratings that you can try to perfect for that after-song score screen, but that's about it for the gameplay. You tap along to the beat. The Game Boy, of course, only has a D-pad on the left, so in order to hit double notes, A and B are mapped to the up and right buttons. This means you can alternate thumbs using your left thumb for left and down, and your right thumb for up and right. It's impossible to do up and right or up and down at the same time. There's no mini-games or modifiers or anything like that, but the game's still super fun just because of how difficult it can get. There's 3 mainline DDR games released, as well as Disney Mix, and all are exclusive to Japan and exclusive to the Color. The first game has 17 songs in total, one of which is Butterfly, which is the best song from DDR. That's a fact. There's 3 difficulties, and the charts are completely different depending on which difficulty you pick, unlike Beatmania. But like Beatmania, this does include multiplayer. It's just a score duel though, not a duet. The second game has 20 songs, and also includes a non-stop mode, which isn't actually a non-stop mode, it's actually just 5 different blocks of 4 songs that you can play for a final overall score. I'll say GB2 definitely gets a lot more difficult than the first game. The third game has 23 songs, but otherwise it's pretty much identical to the second game. Disney Mix though? Now we're talking. Talking trash. Disney Mix is different in the sense that it feels like it was made for little babies. There's no difficulty select, and though the songs are rated for difficulty by the star system down here, none are particularly hard. The hardest you're gonna get is this. Most songs actually play like this though. It's crazy boring. You can see here, if you can read Japanese, that by playing, I just unlocked the Flower Crown by getting SS rank in a 3-song set. Dressing up Minnie Mouse is done in the dressing room down here. Basically, it's just a bunch of unlockable costumes that you get for playing. The track list is a bunch of Disney-centric songs, but they all sound like total garbage slapped together for a quick buck. The DDR series for Game Boy is overall really solid, but this is a stain on its legacy. The DDR Game Boy legacy. Hopefully Konami can knock it out of the park with their next game that we're taking a look at. PopN Music. PopN Music is the total opposite of DDR Disney. This is a game made for adults right here, not babies. Seriously, this is really fun. It's similar to Beatmania as far as the features go. Multiple difficulties and multiple button modes are here. Easier button modes gray out notes and have them autoplay just like Beatmania. Each song has a difficulty rating as well. You know the shtick. The thing is, PopN Music is just way more fun. You can change the controls to one of these other options if you're a psychopath, but what you want here is the default, which is 3 buttons on the D-pad, A and B. The game is more fun simply because of the nonsense that happens on screen. Stage obstacles block your view of upcoming notes, and they'll sometimes constantly reposition themselves mid-game to test your reaction time. This, coupled with the 25 absolute bops that are blasting while you play, just make you feel something. Happiness. Happiness like you've never felt before. Your combo breaks if you get anything less than a great, which kinda makes you actually want to try, unlike something like Dancing Furby where it's so easy that you really just don't care. There's 2 more games in the PopN Music GB series too, including the Animation Medley and, oh god, PopN Music Disney Tunes. The main menu for Animation Medley has what looks like the Parappa the Rapper loading screen icon plastered all over its main menu, which is odd. Unfortunately, this isn't all music from Parappa, but is instead all anime themed. Here's a Dragon Ball song, for example. There's 20 anime songs in here. It's also got a whole new reskin for absolutely everything, and songs will often adjust tempo mid-play, causing notes to stretch and adjust for the tempo, just like in a normal Beatmania game. It's really cool. But what about Disney tunes? Well, thankfully this isn't like Beatmania Disney. This is absolutely golden. It's got 3 difficulties, and the hardest one is incredibly fun. Notes fly at you incredibly fast with variable speeds, while 14 different Disney Gameboy songs blast into your ears. You can't dress Minnie Mouse in different outfits, and the track list is by far the smallest of the bunch, but the gameplay more than makes up for it. All the games in the PopN Music GB series have a 4-song arcade mode, a free play mode, and a survival mode, where you basically start with a full bar of health and play till you die. There's not much more than that, but this is peak Game Boy rhythm gaming right here. I don't know how Game Boy rhythm games can get much better than this, but well, we only have one more to look at. So this is Sylvania Melody's Mori no Nakama to Odori Masho. Yeah. The Sylvanian families are a huge line of anthropomorphic animals that were once huge in Japanese media and eventually spread throughout Europe. There were children's toys and doll houses, an animated TV show, a series of RPG video games, and of course, a rhythm game spin-off for those RPG games. And that's what we're looking at here. Sylvania Melodies is a 3-button story-based rhythm game. As far as gameplay goes, the game uses down on the D-pad, A, and B to hit 3 upward scrolling notes as they cross the hit line. Charts and music are really well done here for the most part. None of the songs make you want to turn the volume down, and all the notes line up to the beat of the music. But again, this is a story-based rhythm game. So the story here, it's extremely simple and it's all told through text at the start, middle, and the end of the game. The story starts with Cotton Rabbit Girl meeting a tiny baby named Watabagi. The baby tells her that she's sleeping and dreaming, and that he has a request from Cotton Rabbit Man. Turns out the baby dropped a bunch of cotton seeds all over their hometown, and the area is now infested with those cotton seeds. So the baby tells Cotton Rabbit Girl to go collect the seeds. After waking up from the dream, Rabbit Girl goes out to water the garden, but finds it's full of cotton spiders. This then leads you to the map screen with 11 levels to choose from. They unlock as you play, and you can play them all in quick play if you want. Each stage has its own characters and custom design to go along with it, but that only helps to ease the fact that that's an extremely small number of songs compared to everything else we've looked at in this video. It's a bit disappointing. Actually, everything I'm about to say is disappointing. Despite being more difficult and as a result more fun than Dancing Furby, the rhythm game here is even more simplistic. You either hit a note or you don't. There's no extra score for timing accuracy. The patterns as well are all very straightforward and rarely deviate from tapping to the beat. Since you're technically playing as 3 bunnies or 3 anthropomorphic animals that are bashing cotton seeds to hit notes with different objects, the notes don't play samples if you hit them when there's no notes, like in Beatmania or PopN Music. There's no stage hazards, no tempo changes, no scores at the end, and no multiplayer. There's no unlockables or really anything to do after you beat it other than to maybe try to get 100% on every song. About halfway through the game, Cotton Rabbit Girl meets up with the floating baby to tell him that the cotton spiders are all gone. But the baby freaks out and reminds you that there's still cotton seeds everywhere. After playing the last few songs, Cotton Rabbit Girl and friends celebrate their victory at the town square. As the big finale, Rabbit Girl tells the floating baby to please never drop any cotton seeds ever again, and they all laugh. The end. Beautiful. I went into this expecting to play some of the worst rhythm games I've ever played in my life, but not a single one of them was particularly bad. The only things missing from today's rhythm games that I would have loved to see are power-ups, streak multipliers, and of course some sort of star power-esque system to double that streak multiplier. Other than that, 25 years later, these games hold up remarkably well and can easily sit beside a lot of the other rhythm games that I've covered on the channel. Well, for now though, that's all I got, so see you in the next video. Love you guys, and peace.